What happens when a top secret intelligence agency turns to entrepreneurs to help build new tools to protect a nation from cyber attacks? Well, GCHQ found out. For Tech Republic and ZDNet, I'm Dan Patterson with ZDNet's Danny Palmer to discuss the secret of being a great spy agency in the 21st century. Turns out it's incubating startups. Danny, what is GCHQ's relationship with technology startups?
This Technology Startup Accelerator is the first of its scheme. It was established early this year after a process which went to go find those to apply to it. Ultimately, the GCHQ, which is the UK's, I suppose you could call it security agency, it deals with intelligence and also protecting the country from cyber attacks, as well as other forms of violent crime and threats to the nation. It's very sort of, you could say it's old school. When people think of GCHQ, they probably think of things like the James Bond movies. They probably think of spies wearing suits, being in far-flung places, fancy places, doing glamorous things. Well, in reality, GCHQ does in fact have a big cybersecurity division, the arm of which is called the National Cybersecurity Centre, which was officially opened this year. What's happened is, in order to try and shake that image of it being old school, and as well as trying to bring some new blood and new ideas into the organization, which is 100 years old this year, it brought in 7 startups to help bring innovation into cybersecurity, in a deal which also sees the 7 startups involved get mentoring and advice from GCHQ, who are, by all accounts, some of the greatest experts in this field in the country.
Danny, these organizations are, by their very nature, and as you mentioned, even in pop culture, are known to be very secretive. So tell me about the process of reporting this story.
In terms of reporting the story, I went around and spoke to all of the startups involved. First of all, I spoke to each of them sort of near the beginning of the scheme and near the end of the scheme, to see how they'd found it, and what they liked, what they didn't like, and what exactly went on. I also spoke to the National Cybersecurity Centre about this scheme, and they were quite frank in terms of what they were looking to achieve with this. In that, it is for the good of the nation, essentially, but it's also to help them sort of reinvent their image somewhat, because, as mentioned, there's a certain image based around what the security agency does, and there's also been various revelations in recent years which have not made what the security agencies do look that great to those in the know. Things like the Snowden revelations about surveillance, that sort of thing. So what I think GCHQ have been trying to do with this scheme is to show that they're not sort of secretive, horrible spies who are looking over people's shoulders in order to find out what they're doing. They're trying to look as if they are more innovative and looking to the future rather than looking towards the past. It's not Tinker Tailor Soldier spy stuff. It's looking towards startups to help bring innovation and new ideas into the agency itself. That is to say, the startups themselves, the 7 which were eventually selected for the first of this scheme, they weren't based in the GCHQ headquarters in Cheltenham itself. They were based in Cheltenham in a specially built cybersecurity accelerator scheme, which had open plan office, that sort of thing. It was designed to look like something around here near these ZDNet offices in Old Street, a sort of Silicon Roundabout, startup-y. One of the guys involved said it looked beanbaggy, to give it that sort of startup vibe like you find here in East London or somewhere like San Francisco. It's to make them sort of feel at home, because obviously in a tight-knit environment is not where these organizations thrive. They thrive on collaboration, discussion, being open, and they were almost there to help teach those at GCHQ these values, because for GCHQ and the NCSC, this has been a interesting exercise for them as well, because they're not used to being open to the public and having a big sort of public facing face. So it's been interesting for them to actually say, hey, look, guys, here's what we're actually doing. This is what we actually do. And it may not be what you think.
You can learn all about the technology these startups use, as well as the spy agencies involved, by reading Danny Palmer's extensively reported story called "The Secret to Being a Great Spy Agency in the 21st Century is Incubating Startups," by visiting Tech Republic. And while you're at Tech Republic, make sure you subscribe to our cybersecurity newsletter.